they used to say during COVID, when you see something, say something. When you see something, say something. So essentially, it is when you see something, say something. So it's really important that we be light in darkness. And I'm going to come before you within this half an hour to those who actually made a change. And when I speak with you, it is making a change in terms of, sorry, making sure my phone's turned off, making sure that it is in terms of, I'm going to come before you with those who made a change in morality. That said, didn't matter the odds, didn't matter what they were up against. They realized that this was an issue and they decided to get involved in it. And when I think of morality and I think of what's the issue that's before us today, one of the many issues, and you might say this, you might say to me, Jacqueline, there's so many issues. And I said, yes, you're right. But we are still here and we take one issue at a time. But the biggest one that I'm concentrating on is the music lyrics. It has becoming pervasive, degrading. So it's just growing and becoming more and more degrading. And you hear this, absolutely nothing. So when I'm coming to you, morality moves, I'm coming to you in terms of the music lyrics. I'm coming to you and seeing how it's affecting the young people. I used to help young people look for work, F word, this word, and that music that they're listening to, it's going to come out. It's going to come out. It's going to come out how they feel, going to come out how they act. And I feel that we're not giving children a chance to become young children and just be innocent. And these music is just a blur of really pornography. It's just gotten to the point that's really very pornographic. But I'm going to start with Ida B. Wells. I know always talk about Ida B. Wells. History should not be in the history classes, only when you take this for class. History should be talked about every day. These were people who had much less than us, but did so much more, so much more. Ida B. Wells was one of the original founders of the NAACP, and I believe it then NAACP back in the 1900s, and she was called the Princess of the Press. So I always like to talk about people who moved in morality because it's a great just image of those who actually did something with much less. Frederick Douglass. Did you know that he came to Bedford, New Bedford, Mass, when he got out of slavery, when he escaped? I did not know that. He was on Boston Common, so that was Frederick Douglass. And because of that one life, he changed a lot in terms of slavery and got the word out. Although very scared, he moved in morality. Another person was Ida B. Wells. She was nicknamed Princess of the Press, and perhaps you know this already. But we need to be reminded, in a world of so much comfort and ease, oh my goodness, air conditioning, it's hot, we have all that we need. And in this generation, we're going to, the Lord's going to hold us accountable. We have so much more, and sometimes we're doing so much less with it. So Ida B. Wells, I digress, but she was the person that saw lynching. In 1890, she did the anti-lynching campaign. And she realized from 1894, 197 persons were put to death by mobs of lynching. And due to a reporting on USA lynching from London, the South was embarrassed. She was able to bring attention to the lynching that was done. And that was in 1890 with the anti-lynching campaign. But still, 1894, still 197 persons were put to death by a mob. And that's when lynching, African-American lynchings, was a whole family event. Black pastors did not support her. African-American pastors did not support her. She had two battles, racism and sexism, but she was uncompromising. Excuse my voice. She was uncompromising. And Ida B. Wells had to be about 5 feet tall. similar to similar to Harry Tubman, as well as about 5 feet tall. So it is not the size of a person ever, but the size of their heart. Never. It's never the size of the person. God looks at the heart, looks at the inside. And Ida B. Wells said, you know what? I can do something about it. And she was called the Princess of the Pen because she used her pen. Ida B. Wells was an African American woman. And again, 1909, she was one of the founders of the NAACP. Amazing. So she used her gifts, her talents to move in morality. So people on this generation, we can live much better. Why do I talk about her? I'm going to talk about her. Again, it was during slavery, during difficult times. But she decided, I'm going to do something. I'm going to make a difference. So what does that say? You can make a difference regardless where you are in society or what station in life you are. And I think God decided to put us where we're at this time. And it depends what are we using with that time. Excuse me, one second, my voice. Sorry about that. I don't know where that happened. I think I got water next to me. I always say this. We know our beginning. We don't know the end. No one can tell you the end. No, only the Lord knows your end, right? And we have no control of what time we're going to be born in society. That's why I do not complain. I could have been born 200 years ago, right? 1,000 years ago. We have no control of that, right? We have no control over that. But what do we have control over? What do we do with the dash? What do we do in between? And as you are taking care of your family, working at your job, and all those things are honorable before the Lord. All those things are just as honorable. It is also a responsibility for us you see something, a dirty magazine, ask them to clean it, ask them to remove it. But as Christians, we just leave that there. You see something very degrading, these advertisers, don't buy from there. Don't buy from there, right? Let's send a message, call the station, email them. We could do something about it. But instead, the world just continues going the wrong way quickly, and Christians are still here. We are still salt and light and holding the standard. And as Martin Luther King said, that the church should be the headlight, not the tail light. The church should continue to be the thermostat, changing the mores of society. It wasn't me who said that. Martin Luther King said that. And he put his life to it. He put his life to it. Even when he got the money from the Nobel Peace Prize, he put it right back into the movement. He gave it all. He gave it all. So no one's perfect except Jesus. No one's perfect except Jesus. But he gave it all for the betterment of the African American community to make sure that you're free. So if he said that the Christians are still the standard, and quite frankly, if you read the laws, do not kill, do not steal, right? Do not steal. That sounds a lot like the Ten Commandments, right? Universal law. Or how about do unto others as you want done unto you? That's in the Bible too. Everything is in the Bible. Everything's in the Bible. Self-help, that's all Proverbs. All those things, everything, nothing new under the sun. That's what Solomon said. And it's all in the Word of God. So as Christians, we should be shining in the school system, shining wherever we need to go in the courts, just being light there. Now, yes, it gets tiring sometimes, but life is work. But how about, that's why I bring up Ida B. Wells, and I'm going to bring up another person, Diane Nash, and then I'm going to paint you a picture of the problem, and then we're going to do a call to action. So as I say, on our Sunday morning, as we go along the way, the store, you see that nasty magazine? Tell them we don't want this in the store. Can you please remove it? Can you please remove it? Oh, you're seeing a TV show that's just very, or these commercials. These young kids nowadays, These commercials, you got to change them as quickly as you change some TV shows. It's just pushing more and more the envelope because there's not a pushback against it. I'm reminded of the Super Bowl. I think it was Shakira and Jennifer Lopez. They're up and down on a pole. I think it was a pole, a stripper pole. You imagine a stripper pole up and down. And yes, the Federal Trade Commissions, the FTC, did get a lot of, not enough, but did get some complaints. But silence equals, Martin Luther King said, your silence will hurt you. The silence will hurt the generations behind us, the current generation now, because it's depicting that this is okay. And you might say, but Jacqueline, I have no control over the media. Oh, sure you do. Send an email, send respectfully, respectfully and kindly, just respectfully oppose. Say, could you please have other type of, that was really sexually explicit. Because what young people see in their eye gate, they're going to start acting out and then figure out it's okay. So that was Ida B. Wells. I know it's kind of long-winded on her. Then we have Diane Nash. Oh, she was awesome. The young women of the movement, of the civil rights movement, they don't get as much press. That's why I'm always going to talk about them. Always going to talk about them. We know about John Lewis. Find a way to get in the way. That's John Lewis, who passed away. He put his life on the line as well. Freedom rides that Blacks were not supposed to ride in the 1960s, so to be segregated, but they stopped that. They put their life on the line, so people could easily ride the bus today. Myrlie Evers was talking. She was the wife of Medgar Evers in the 60s, who was killed in front of his house. He was an NAACP leader back in the 60s, and a white man killed him. And Myrlie Evers, his wife, she's 90 years old now, said she does not want people to forget the sacrifice because of what he's done, and many people like him, more so him, that people can enjoy all the freedom that is today. And that one person changed the helped change or help better the African American community. So let us not forget, while you're having celebrations and everything, someone paid that road with their blood. So I digress. I digress. Diane Nash, she's still alive today. Diane Nash was a coordinator of the civil rights movement during the spring of 1961. I wasn't born yet. Coordinator of the civil rights movement during the spring of 1961. And she helped sustain the freedom rides, what I was speaking about, by coordinating the student efforts to continue the rides into Mississippi, Selma, and the assistance of the civil rights movement. One more time. She was a coordinator of the civil rights movement in 1961. She was also in college. She probably the first person to go to college, but yet she decided to also be involved in the freedom rides, and she helped coordinate the rides into Mississippi. That was the most difficult time in Selma, and the civil rights movement, assistance for the civil rights movement. And they asked Diane Nash. She was also sitting in the lunch counters with John Lewis when they had to segregate the lunch counters. And they asked Diane Nash, weren't you scared to do that? Weren't you scared? And she said it was really scary sitting behind people at the lunch counter. But she said we were able to summon the courage because segregation was so harsh, demeaning, insulting, and degrading. The choice was to carry it out, nonviolence, or tolerate it. So she said it was a really scary thing, but they were able to summon the courage because segregation was so harsh, demeaning, insulting, and degrading. She said the choice was to carry it out, nonviolence. This is her choice, nonviolence or tolerate it, fighting it or tolerating it. And she said by 1960s, we were ready to do whatever it took to stop segregation. if it takes jailhouse, beatings, or death. She said, we're ready. These are young people in college. They also signed their last will and testament. I've listened to Diane Nash speak on YouTube, just amazing. She said, as college students, they all signed their last will and testaments before going into the sit-ins because they knew they could have been killed. Says if it takes jailhouse, beatings, or death, they wanted to stop segregation. They want to stop segregation. So, and also said another important element, we changed ourselves into people who could not be segregated. That's a mic drop right there. She said, another important element is that we changed ourselves into people who could not be segregated. The 60s was a time. I think respectfully they did it and courageously, but they were able to they desegregated the lunch counters. They definitely did that, and it helped start the civil rights movement. They're a part of that. So that's why I bring her up, because it took that tenacity that people can sit today and appreciate all that they did. That was Diane Nash, and again, she's still living today. But she is a true hero. So now we're in 2025. Now 2025. They stood right for the youth to have a better life today. Here we are, years down the road, 40, 50 years down the road, 56 down the road. And when we listen to music, what the young children are listening to, now we go from that to different artists. I'm not going to name them, but you have different artists that are talking about that are dropping the F-bomb, pornographic, vulgar, the videos, whores in the house, church girl, thotty, you name it. You name it. You're like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? What's going on? Right? And then you're giving awards to this foolishness. And then the little baby seeing that, trying to get some type of self-esteem. And we know how music was back in the day. But now if you listen to all types of music lyrics, go in one of the stores, sexually explicit music. And also the videos are becoming more and more pornographic. The whole culture is moving towards more and more more sexualized. Even back in 2017, Aly Raisman, who was from Massachusetts, the gymnast, she went on, she was topless on one of the swimsuit issues. Probably had something covered up. But again, that's Aly Raisman. What are they saying to the young women? What are they saying to the young women? And then you have songs like from another artist, Whores in the House, I'm a Certified Freak, 7 days of a week, extra large and extra hard. This is a Grammy nominated singer. And what do you hear from everybody? That nothing. Absolutely nothing. No outrage. None of that. None of that. No outrage or anything like that. And then years back, someone brought up a song, Church Girl, implying, living one way, and then a church, going out in the club and living a certain way, one way in the church, one way in the club. And something like, I want to drop it like a thotty, church girls acting loose. And it keeps on going. Just sad. And then what do you hear? Nothing. So that is why. And then you have 2009, the American Pediatrics Association. They came out, music plays an important role in the socialization of children and adolescents, youth and music, listening to patterns and motivations, that there's a pattern between, they've always known that, what children listen to and how they act out. There's always been that awareness of that. 2010, The American Psych Association Task Force concluded that the sexualization of girls in media, I'm going back to that, that's 2010 with 2025. The sexualization of girls in media is a serious societal problem, and the consequences of teenage boys are no less grave. It's just equally as bad. 2010, right? 2010, it said there's been an increase of profanity and aggressive behavior, and I can go on and on. All the stats are there. All the stats are there. Even when you go to Parent Television Council, they have the stats on just the F word increasing in 2005. We just see a progression of just constant, up until 2010, it just increased. You saw it 11 times, 2005, now it's 276 times. It's just increase, just keep it increase. And I can get a little bit better with those stats there. But overall, it said, sadly, despite the proven science demonstrating the link between media content and harm to children, still strong protest from those that produce it. This was the Parent Television Council. It said that although there's a strong linkage between the media content and harm to children, they're still going to protest it. So we know this is harmful. We know this is harmful. How do we want young children to behave and compete in a society, to have self-esteem when you're not only listening, but look at some of these videos. I can't even see it. It is not even soft porn. It is pornography. Women twerking in bikinis and polling, and no one says nothing about that. Sorry, I went so low because nobody says nothing about that. There are young children and no one is outraged. No one is appalled. Isn't there a cause? Is there not a cause? When David saw Goliath and no one was going, is there not a cause? Aren't these young children being perverted of the mind? You don't even get a chance. I mean, I don't get mad when I see the little babies cursing. It's all over the place, and no one is stopping that. And what I challenge you, look at these videos, listen to this music like what the babies are listening to. And I say, cease and desist. We ain't with this. Tell them, cease and desist. We ain't with this. Let the children know that that's not how it goes. And I ain't up against the artists. It's not the artists. It's never the artists. It's like me going in the store and getting mad at a sales associate for being rude. And they're all rude in there. It's not them. It's behind that. It's the appetite that's creating that environment. Let's call the radio stations that said, cease and desist, we're not with this. These are kings and queens. They're not anything, right? And if you keep hearing this, you're going to start acting out, become more promiscuous, dress in a certain kind of way, and it's a direct correlation. And you're not able to compete or really be competitive in this world with all that garbage coming in your ears or in your eye gate. I do say, call the radio stations. And I'm going to talk with you next time on C. Dolores Tucker, who went up against Tupac. Tupac talking about how the music lyrics, this is the 1990s, a crusade to stop this gangster rap and pornography rap. I'm going to talk about that. That was in 1990s. We are in 2025. So I say cease and desist. We are not with this. We have to paint, we have to leave this world a little bit cleaner now. It's up to us. And those that are older must take a stand. Call a radio station, say cease and desist. We ain't with this. And if you haven't heard it, I challenge you. I challenge you to hear some of these lyrics, to see some of these videos. You're going to do it with one eye open. I can't even, you can't even see it. But that's what they're pushing on young kids. That is, middle school teenagers. Of course, they're thinking about sex so early on. Look at all the stuff coming through. You can't even get a chance to be young nowadays. You can't be a chance to be young nowadays. And as I read, it wasn't me. It was the American Psych Association. They've been knowing this. There's a direct correlation between that. So I say cease and desist. That is where my passion is. Say we ain't with this. Call the radio station. You see the magazines. Let them know. Cease and desist. We ain't with this. You know, we are kings and queens. We're not anything. So I say to put a stand against that. Let them know. Let the radio station know. It just takes one or two consistently pushing back against the forces of evil. That is just straight up evil. Some of the music and some of the straight up pornography. And and when they think of the Essence Award, someone spoke up against that, and she was ridiculed.